been a pleasure having you here with the Millennium Alliance. Thank you so much for delivering an awesome keynote speech last night. Really did serve as a catalyst for further discussion throughout the rest of the event. So we really thank you for being here. A few questions for you. Can you tell us a bit more about your career in cybersecurity and what ultimately led you to TechCentrics?
Yes. So first of all, thank you for hosting me here for Millennium Alliance. This has been a great event. Um, Reaching out to the private sector, as I said last night during my keynote, I've usually been in the shadows with the government, staying behind the scenes and everything else, and I don't usually network too far out of my circles of trust, so to speak. So this has been great, bridging those gaps and giving some lessons learned to the private sector and some other security experts in for their businesses. So what actually led me to TechCentrics? I was in the Air Force all the way back pre 9/11, and I was a Korean linguist and graduated from the Defense Language Institute with Korean. 9/11 happened, and I actually had a security clearance at the time, and the Air Force, with the needs of the Air Force, said, well, we need more intelligence analysts. So the Air Force taught me how to exploit email, exploit cell phones, exploit web pages for the good of our country, and I did that for the rest of my Air Force career. When I got out of the Air Force, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I took my skills and actually went from the offensive side, or the vulnerability assessment side of things, to the defensive side. So I did some contract work for the Air Force, and I actually helped draft the first, for the Air Force, the analyst course for teaching how analysts to defend the networks. So it was a very big win. And one day out of the blue, I got a call from the United States Senate, and they said, would you be interested in helping us stand up and assisting our cybersecurity program? So this was summer of 2009. So transplanted the whole family from San Antonio, Texas to Washington, D.C., and the rest is history. I stood up the incident response program, did malware analysis, and one of the big things that I did, much like you guys are doing here, is I started networking like crazy. So one thing that is extremely unique about being in the legislative branch versus the executive branch, because most people think, well, it's the federal government. Well, there's three separate branches, and there's three separate separations of power due to the Constitution. So everything that DHS and National Security Agency and all these other agencies are doing for the executive branch, nobody's helping out the legislative branch. So I bridged these gaps, and I started externally hosting the U.S. Senate Cyber Collaboration. So we had, at the peak of these meetings, and I would do them monthly, I think we had 133 people represented from 33 agencies across all three branches of government. And what we learned there is the same stuff that I was seeing at the Senate, I knew a certain actor would be either seeing at NASA or seeing at DHS or seeing in the U.S. courts. And just building that collaboration at the analyst level, all the way back in the early or mid 2000 or 2009, 2010 timeframe, was huge. And as a result of that, the work I did there, then they started having me brief senators and committees and all the threats and the stuff that we were seeing. And it got to the point where Senator McConnell and Senator Reid, staff, so the Republican and Democrat leaders for the Senate, started calling me the voice of doom. And it was absolutely fantastic. So I was at the Senate for almost 6 years doing cybersecurity and discovering all these hackers and zero-day vulnerabilities and getting credit for a lot of it. And that was all operations and tactical, so I wanted to try something different. So there was, during the government shutdown, Department of Treasury contacted me, and they said, we have a position open in the Office of Critical Infrastructure Protection, and it's more on the policy side of things, but it's taking your skills and everything that you have built over at the Senate and helping the private sector with the financial services. So I went over there, and then I got detailed to the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, doing a lot of these investigations from the Treasury as the Treasury Task Force officer, so assisting with the target breaches, assisting with J.P. Morgan Chase, and additionally they helped me be the technical expert for the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., CFIUS, and we were looking at national security threats to U.S. companies when they were being acquired by a foreign country or foreign company. So as a result of that, there may or may not have been something that happened in 2014 at the White House, and just by fate, I got a call one day that said, hey, we really need your help. We really need to use what you have learned and what you've built at all these different places to help us out and retool and restaff the cybersecurity program at the White House. So I was there for 4 years, and during my 4 years there, we didn't have one breach. We retooled the White House, we restaffed the White House, and 4 years is like working in dog years at the White House. So it is long hours, a lot of stress.
I can imagine.
Yes. So it's 17 years of federal service, and I wanted a new challenge, and I wanted more time with my family, my wife and kids. So my former boss at the White House started this company, TechCentrics. He's like, come on over, let's be a partner. This is exactly what you want to do. And so now we're helping private sector clients using our skills that we have had and acquired at the White House and all these other agencies to help others build their programs and protect their staff. Because as I said last night, this is nothing political. Security is not political at all. Everybody needs to be doing it, and everybody needs to be doing it, taking it seriously. And the only way we're going to be better and have a better cyber ecosystem is if everybody contributes, and everybody that attended this alliance, the Millennium Alliance event, is here for the same reason.
Awesome. I mean, you've just got a great story. You have an incredible past. And what are some of the cybersecurity concerns at the front of your mind for this year in 2020?
So obviously, the big one that comes to mind is the elections, and I kind of touched on this last evening. You have DHS that has supposedly overarching authorities to help and assist with all these the election at the federal level. However, federal elections are all done at the states and at the counties and whatnot, and everybody's doing it different. There's not one standard. By the time the government comes out with a standard, it's already light years behind because it's not done in cyberspeed with legislation. So the elections is a very large concern of mine. The second is what I see as tensions are building up with Iran. Iran, as we know publicly, with the Sands Casino, what they did in Saudi Arabia with Saudi Aramco, they have destructive capabilities, and if tensions continue to escalate, I do fear for U.S. critical infrastructure, specifically ICS systems, the electric grid, water systems, stuff like that. And I think we will see at some point, maybe not this year, hopefully not this year, cyber go kinetic. So taking something from cyber and having real-world kinetic effects against the United States.
Wow, thank you for that feedback. A little bit of a side note. Do you see a trend in cybersecurity issues your clients have, and are they generally legitimate concerns?
So I think everybody has the same concerns and same issues. The issues that I'm trying to tackle is one, and especially for my clients, is protecting all that data. Where are the crown jewels? As we've heard numerous times here, everything is moving to the cloud. So how do we control and have exclusive control over that data if it's in the cloud? What are those crown jewels? Where is the IP for these clients? Mm-hmm. And how do you protect that? So that's what I think is
okay. Great. Towards. Appreciate that. Kind of going back to the White House for a second, what is or was one of the most interesting projects that you worked on that you're able to share with us during your time working for the White House?
So I worked on several different projects at the White House. We stood up the first insider threat program. We did the ban on cell phones. And for me, the largest thing that I think we had the most impact on for our country was securing foreign travel. And the reason for that, we created a process, at least on the security side of house. If somebody was traveling overseas, they would have to request their devices be approved. And we got the sign-off from lawyers, or from the legal team, all the way up through the chief of staff. If somebody does not follow that process and we detect them overseas coming in from somewhere they're not supposed to be, we have the authority to kill the device, we have the authority to wipe the device. And then additionally, on presidential travel and first lady travel, vice president's travel, we actually were sending a security team not only with the president or with the vice president, but also on the advanced team to help get a scope on the different threats. And we got to the point where we were briefing so many of the senior staff that they in turn were telling us when something was anomalous or something was wrong, not only with their personal phones or with their government phones. And then also with foreign travel, we got to the point where we're banning personal devices entirely.
Wow.
And cabinet secretaries, Secret Service, and the military were all following suit. So being able to put it in a policy and actually enforce that policy I think is a huge win, and I think it's carrying on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for that feedback. So at the Millennium Alliance, we are proud for partnering with the National Registry of CPE. So we offer CPE credits at our events. I wanted to ask you, how do you approach continued education, and do you recommend any resources or tools for today's CISOs?
So yes, events like this, the Black Hats of the world, the RSAs of the world, those are all excellent. And then also networking. And then you can always learn something from somebody else. And then whatever technology somebody may be using, see what you can learn about that and get the certification and the accreditation that you need.
Sure, I would agree with that. It's one of the main reasons we bring all you guys together under one roof. It's a rare thing, and we work pretty hard at it. So glad you were able to make it. Last question: what have you taken away from participating in the Millennium Alliance Assembly?
So for me, I didn't think. So many people with diverse backgrounds coming here, sharing a lot of the same problems that really have not changed that much significantly. We're facing privacy, threat intelligence, and securing the human, and we're still seeing this all across the board. And hearing the problems and hearing it from the private sector point of view was enlightening to me, and to make so many contacts, I think that was very big for me.
Cool. Yeah, diverse perspectives, and hopefully we did a good job bringing the right people.
I think you did a great job.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for saying that, and obviously we hope to see you at future events, and thank you for your time this morning.
I
think
appreciate
that's
it.
a wrap.
Thank you very much.
You got it.